And I said, honey, I have got a full-time job, a husband, 4 children, a dog, a cat, a house to run. Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Okay, Mumzie, so you are 80 years old now.
Can you believe it? I can hardly believe it.
You've lived through the Great Depression,
Indeed.
the World War II,
Absolutely.
the Civil Rights Movement,
Right.
And you've also accomplished a lot of stuff being a woman during a time when you didn't have a lot of opportunity.
Exactly.
So we're going to start. We're going to take it back to childhood.
I love it.
1930s, 1940s. Why don't you tell me about your favorite childhood memory?
Oh my goodness. It's funny, my mother was extremely vivacious. If I say the strength of the family, what I mean is she had a personality that was very dependable, and you could always go to her, for anything. And my dad was quieter. But when I look back, the memories I have that are so pleasurable are, for example, he taught me how to ballroom dance in the living room, like this, and then what to do when another boy breaks in on you. I think of him in so many ways. We used to go out, he and I, and pick blueberries, which we had them wild in our rather deep backyard, and we had them on cereal. We had them blueberry pie. It was picking blueberries with Dad. That was another big thing. And then he and I walked to the swimming pool, which was down a hill, across a creek, and then maybe a quarter of a mile to Uncle Tom's was the name of the pool. And my dad, the gentleman that he was, would always, on the path, when we got very close to a briar or something, he would say, "Stand back, darling." And he would step ahead and take the briar and hold it back so I could walk through. So I always felt very much valued,
Well, what about your teenage years? Tell me about your teenage years.
My teenage years?
Yeah.
Oh, my dear. Well, back then, in Atlanta, Georgia, there was one women's college and three men's colleges. And so girls were at a premium. I mean, your phone rang all the time with boys asking you out. And it was a much more peaceful time in that sex was still off the table. And so there was a lot of flirting, a lot of boys breaking on you at dances, a lot of fun words expressed about, you're the prettiest girl at the dance tonight. Oh, get over. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. It was just all that sort of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But actually a much more innocent time than today's world is.
Okay, so you became a parent rather young.
Yes.
In today's world, at least.
Yes, indeed.
Right? So tell me some distinct memories you have of being a young mom with these little babies.
Oh, all right. Oh, my gosh. Well, I went to Boston, Massachusetts with Bill, already pregnant, and didn't know a soul, had never been above the Mason-Dixon line. I mean, yeah. North Carolina was North Carolina.
Yeah.
It was interesting, I'll have to admit. It was the middle of the civil rights problems or situations. A lot of the doctors at the hospital where Bill was wore black armbands for the blacks in the South. Mm. So there's a similarity to today's world in that sense. And so the very fact that I opened my mouth and out came my southern drawl, and you can imagine that this is where, if I have a lesson to say in life, is don't just judge by first impressions.
Yeah.
Because certainly that wasn't the case at all for me. But that was the way it was. And also there was a little bit of scorn for white Southerners. Mm. I think I may have even told you this, Katie. At one point I was at a dinner party, an older doctor's home, big, gorgeous Beacon Hill home. And he said to me, where are you from? What is your background? And I said, Southern. I said, this is a Georgia accent. And he said, pity.
Let's go into your children a little bit.
All right.
Tell me something that you love about each of your children.
Oh my gosh. Well, I could tell you a lot about baby Cliff because he was So here I arrive in Boston, and Bill goes off to work as an intern. You know what an intern's life is like? And so there I am with this little baby who's sleeping in a dresser drawer that I have painted yellow. It was the happiest time in my life. Why? I hear about new mothers and being exhausted and having... I lay on a sofa and read books all afternoon while he napped. I had washed out my one little outfit. The bond that we built during that period, I don't think ever broke in any sense. It was Cliff and me against the world. Now, of course, it's changed. I've married, other children. He's married, other children whom he adores. You being one. But the fact that it was Cliff and me against the world somehow stuck a little bit. You know what I mean? And I always just thought he was the most adorable thing in the world.
So what about your second child, Chuck?
Then Chuck was born when we now had moved to Maryland. I probably said the easiest of all of my babies. And I had two girlfriends now that I walked in the park with. I found him just a joy. I have no doubt. Although I've never been a patient of his, of course, but I have no doubt he is an excellent doctor. He sets a goal and he meets that goal.
And then you have your one little girl.
Oh my gosh. I had that baby over at Navy Hospital, and back then they didn't take any women into the hospital except in the OB section. And so I remember being in the labor room and sitting up on the table and saying to the doctor, male, and the three aides, or male nurses, all male, and I sat up on the table and said, I am the only woman in this room and I am doing all the work. And they laughed, and and then the minute she was born, the doctor started joking and saying, now you're not the only woman in the room. And that's how he told me it was a girl. It was a great thrill, because of course I'd have loved another little boy, but it was a thrill to have both at that point. We have always been extremely, extremely close. We have had many adventures. Kay was very successful in her work, and so I can remember one, for example, she was in Paris and called me and said, are you busy this weekend? And I said, no, this was after my Bob had died. And she said, well, I'm going to send you a ticket and come over and spend the weekend with me in Paris. And so a car came and picked me up, took me to the airport, and off we went and spent the weekend in Paris. John was a little bit of a surprise package, because I rather thought we were done. But the minute I took a deep breath and said, we're having another baby, I was totally there. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so much about John's ability to deal with the problem of dyslexia when people didn't know what it was, and his ability to turn what he could have been embarrassed about into something where he's happy to go out and lecture on dyslexia. I think it's very admirable. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's been extremely successful business-wise.
Right.
It shows the brain. The brain was really good in there.
Well, you've been all over the world.
Yes.
You've been very fortunate to go to many different countries.
Exactly.
What are some, distinct memories here and there from a couple of your travels?
Oh my gosh. You're so right. And that was thanks to Bill Roberts, who was asked to speak in different cities in the world. And because of that, I went, the markets of Marrakesh, to South Africa, mm-hmm. to, of course, London, Paris, Portugal, the cities that you know well. I think that it made me very comfortable with a sense that people are people everywhere, and that if you are real and honest, sort of with them, they tend to understand that and try to help you back. Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember sleeping on the floor in the most expensive hotel in Tokyo, because that's what they do over there. And they come in. You walk into this fabulous hotel room, and there's nothing in the room but a window, and a table in front of it with a chrysanthemum and a vase. That's it. Nothing else in the room. And I'm thinking, where do we sleep? Well,
Tell me about Bob.
oh,
Yeah. What kind of made your relationship so special?
have you ever met even like a girlfriend somewhere, you're introduced at a party and you happen to sit by them, and before you get up from the party, you just know that you could just be best friends with this person? Well, that's the way Bob and I were. We both worked at the hospital. He was a doctor there, and I was head of PR marketing. And we sort of accidentally fell in love with each other, and didn't see him for a number of years. He was indeed the love of my life. I mean, you love a lot of people in different ways, but that was a special. I mean, that was special beyond all special in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we had one moment of adjustment, if you know what I mean. We just fit right together and laughed our way through the next couple of years. We traveled to Europe every year.
Throughout your 80 years, I guess, what have you kind of established as your basic core values in life?
Yes, very good question. I thought about that question a fair amount. I think you want to be yourself as much as possible, coming to grips with what you think is true and trying to live by those principles. Making a decision about work or in politics or whatever, with one caveat, I think always that I have tried to live by, that my mother taught me, and I think it has served me well. And that is, she said, Carey, use your own brain, make decisions of your own, but always remember, before you do anything of any importance, ask yourself, does this hurt anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can say, well, actually, yeah, it's not too good for so-and-so, then think twice. And if it's definitely, oh yeah, this is going to be painful to have to tell some, don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay, no? It may fit my interest level, but it doesn't fit my morals.
Okay, so I guess to end, would you say you've had a good 80 years?
Oh, my dear. I just wonder if somebody did something in a former life, then I got to be born me. And I don't mean that in a conceited way, because I've been very healthy. I've had some wonderful relationships. Bill Roberts took me around the world and fathered my 4 wonderful children. And then along came the love of my life, and I had those wonderful years with Bob. And now I have these fabulous grandchildren, one of whom I'm sitting with right this minute that I adore. And I've been healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Thank you.
talking with me.
I love you a lot.
I love you.